All right. So earlier we were talking about our Ohio State comments from last week, and then in the comments on the YouTube page, Patricio3. I couldn't find an actual name. That's just the username. Commented on our opinion segment from last week and says, "Can you imagine? Talking about Ohio State getting preferential treatment. Can you imagine a few NFL teams making the playoffs with playing only 9 games while all the other teams playing 16? This is like the NBA allowing a quarter of its playoff field to be teams that only played 44 games while the other three quarters playoff teams played 82. So the load management, I use that in quotes, guys would love to be on the 44 game teams. I think that's a great argument.
He ain't wrong. He's not
I mean,
wrong.
can you imagine,
It's clear. It's
Jesse? I know
clear as
you
crystal.
love baseball. Can you imagine, teams being forced to play 162 games, and then some of them, we just played 80, but we're good, right? You're gonna let us in the playoffs, right?
We get to go in though, right? Like I mean, it's fine. We also
It's
stole signs, but what?
right. It would be Houston, wouldn't it? That would do
Don't
that.
worry, I'm not just petty when it comes to football. I hate people across all sports. No, can you imagine 162 games going with that analogy, and then someone's just like, yeah, 80. What? That no one would even consider that. It wouldn't be considered.
But it's apples to oranges though, because it's not quite the same thing.
Go ahead.
That's the thing about baseball is there's so I'm sorry. I'm gonna play devil's advocate.
I just
There's
want to know
so many
why.
games. There's just so many games.
But shouldn't it
You're
matter
right.
more? There's not as many games here.
I mean, yeah.
It should matter more.
That's right. Each week
because
kind of means
it's not
even
like
more
we
than.
can say, yeah, because when you're in baseball, it's like, well,
Yeah.
maybe they didn't play a series with a team, maybe they didn't play 3 series with a team, but they played 1 series. We can at least kind of gauge where they're at, right? No, you just didn't play games, and you only play those teams once. You
But here's
can't
the
gauge where
thing.
you're at.
In those leagues, it wouldn't, like, people wouldn't even think about including a team like that. But for some
No.
reason, in this scenario, not only is it okay, but like it's expected. Like, oh yeah, we'll let them in because, I mean, come on, the eye test, surely they belong. So, but I mean,
It's the Kool-Aid.
we've seen so many times over the years where even great Ohio State teams have that one down game where they get blown out by Purdue or somebody. And we didn't really get that chance this year because they played half their games. So
We
I
didn't
know
get much of a chance at all. We can't see where they're at all.
yeah. I mean, I know
Who
we're
did they
rehashing
hold on a
last.
minute. Hold on. Wait.
Rutgers.
Did we
I don't
already
know.
talk about this? I forgot what if we talked about their
Talk about what?
schedule.
Yeah, we said it a few
Ohio-
weeks ago, but I mean, it's like, I think the only team worth noting that they played is Indiana.
It can't be overstated
Yep,
enough,
Indiana's
Matt.
Ohio State's only played Indiana. That is literally it, and they barely beat them by a touchdown.
Yep.
That's the thing is, if we want to go by the eye test, I could have Georgia play a bunch of group of 5 teams or FCS teams and say, oh, it's the eye test. Look, I know we've only played 6 games, but look at how we've looked on the field. We look fantastic. Well, of course we look fantastic because we play terrible teams, but it's okay for Ohio State. Look, I know we're beating a dead horse and we've done this before, but I think it bears saying. It needs to be said because it's ridiculous. All right. Let's go ahead and talk about. Don't get me started again because we'll do another 20-minute clip.
I know.
Ohio State. I don't want Ohio State anywhere near the playoff.
Sprinkling in my hate. Like I'll sprinkle it in every now and then just to kind of like get it out.
You can hear the tension in your voice where in the back of your mind you're like, you're thinking so many things right now, and there's a soapbox you want to climb on so bad, but you're refraining because you know that it wouldn't be.
The Lord took me out of the Big Ten country before this season because He knew I would be in so many verbal altercations. I already got in verbal altercations. I'd be in so many. I'd be in jail.
Here's the thing. Ohio State, in and of themselves, I don't inherently hate because honestly, we don't play them. I don't have a dog in the fight for the most part when it comes to them. But just the time after time we see them get preferential treatment. And as we've just said, expectation that they'll just make it just because they are who they are and because of the eye test. It makes no sense. And you wouldn't say that about another team, but because they're blue blood, you say that.